Now, welcome back. It's 5:47. Today we're remembering your host restaurants, the Sears catalog, and a Hollywood star from Buffalo. 2 on your side's Dave McKinley has our weekly walk back through time when those stories and more were all news to you.
10 years ago this week, we were in the midst of the Ebola scare after a man from Africa, where there was an epidemic, was discovered to have it in a Houston hospital. The nation's healthcare forces were mobilized, but out of the more than 300 million people in this country, only 2 came down with it, both nurses treating the original patient and both who recovered. In Buffalo, Columbus Day was still celebrated at the Columbus statue in Columbus Park. Within a few years, though, at the height of the cancel culture movement, the Federation of Italian-American Societies, fearful that the vandals who'd by then been desecrating it on an annual basis would destroy it entirely, had that statue removed. The city removed the name Columbus from the park and promised there'd be an appropriate memorial to Italian-Americans here, a promise yet to be fulfilled. 20 years ago this week, as George Bush and John Kerry took to the debate stage and Buffalo got its first standalone Hummer dealership, call center jobs were really big in these parts, and the Bills put their hopes for the future in a rookie quarterback named J.P. Lossman. Here are 3 other ideas some thought might work out at the time but didn't. Mandatory headgear for youth and school soccer players. Never made mandatory. A flu mist vaccine, which actually came out but was later taken off the market after being found to be ineffective. And a new international freight bridge at the north end of what was then called Squaw Island, near the International Railroad Bridge. Still waiting on that one after all the talk about it this week in 2004. 30 years ago this week, when we still shopped at Silo and Bob's stores, Halloween got even more macabre when one of the most sought-after costumes was O.J. Simpson.
The store owner says he can't keep them in stock.
And then for Nicole, I guess people have been buying the blonde wig and cosmetic, gashed neck.
To treat this tragedy as the stuff of Halloween costumes, it's just awful.
In Cheektowaga, the auctioneer's gavel signaled the end of 80 years in business for Winowitz Hardware. It was on Walden, not far from Harlem, about where the AutoZone is now. Then as now, the South experienced extreme weather in the fall. Or as Florida Governor Ron DeSantis recently put it, it's nothing new under the sun, and here's a bit of proof of that from this week in 1994. 40 years ago this week.
Amadeus is already playing in major cities around the country with enormous success.
And a native Western New Yorker starred in a major supporting role. This week's News to You pop quiz named this Buffalo-born actor who played Emperor Joseph II in Amadeus, which went on to win 8 Oscars, including Best Picture, after it was released this week in 1984. Remember, this was back when we dined at your host restaurants, got started on the Christmas shopping by perusing the Sears catalog, and when Dad still held down that job at the Ford stamping plant, back in the days when it was all news to you.
And here's the answer to this week's News to You pop quiz. Jeffrey Jones was the Buffalo-born actor who starred in the movie Amadeus when it was released 40 years ago in 1984. Now, Jones went on to prominent roles in several other feature films, but his career was derailed when he was charged with soliciting a minor to produce sexually explicit images and then had to register as a sex offender. So fall from grace, no doubt. Did not know that. You learn something new every day. That's why we have these pieces. They're informative, certainly.
Yeah, remember him from Ferris Bueller's Day Off? He was the principal.
Wow. Okay, yeah.
Who was trying to bust Ferris. And then he was also in Hunt for Red October. He was the submarine analyst. Anyway.
Okay.
My movie database up here.
Yeah,
but yeah,
I'm terrible with movies.
A fall from grace for sure. All right, let's take a